Good day, everyone. This is Arugu Speaks and AruguInsights. Today, we'll talk about the ghost in the hall. We will talk about the 20-year history of Nigerian Maritime Liens. And I welcome everyone, legal scholars and maritime practitioners, students of law and maritime enthusiasts. I welcome you all to today's lecture. In the Nigerian hinterlands, we have a saying that the debt of the head is not paid by the cap. If you sell the head, the debt follows you to the new owner's house. In Admiralty law, this is not just folklore, it is a 50 million reality, a $50 million reality. Imagine you've just got a state-of-the-art vessel, the papers are clean, and the registry is clear, but 2 weeks later, in Lagos, the Federal High Court arrests the vessel for a collision that happened 3 years ago in the English Channel. How? Because you didn't just buy a ship, you bought its ghost. Today, on AruguInsights, we are deconstructing the invisible body and exploring how Nigeria's Merchant Shipping Act 2007 created a dual-track system that can sink an innocent investor's dream. Let us start from the origin, where it all started, where it all began. The Roman hypotheca, the clinging heart. To understand our law, we must go back 200 years to Rome. The Romans knew a ship had to sail to earn money to pay its debts. They created the hypotheca. Unlike a pawn shop where you leave your watch behind, the hypotheca allowed the debt to cling to the hull while the ship remained in the owner's possession. This clinging debt is the very soul of the Nigerian Maritime Lien. Let us talk about personification of the vessel. And in doing that in Nigeria, we will consider the MV Gongola Hope case. Under the common law legacy we inherited, a ship is a juridical person. It is the instrument of mischief. If it causes damage, we don't need to sue the owner. We can sue the vessel itself. In Nigeria, this is not just theory. In the landmark case of MV Gongola and SCIT Limited, our courts, particularly the Court of Appeal, confirmed that the ship is the defendant. This is the action in rem. When you sue the ship, you are seizing the defendant itself, independent of the owner's identity. Let us go back to where it all started, the Big Bang, the bold Buckley. The year 1851 gave us the Big Bang of maritime history. The bold Buckley, Sir John Jervis established the three indelible pillars, and in that case, he stated that the lien attaches the second the impact happened. 2, that it travels with the ship no matter who owns it. 3, it is secret, no registration is what required. This created a legal ghost that waits in the shadow of the registry. Let us relate it to Nigeria. Let us talk about the Nigerian evolution. Nigeria didn't just copy the British, we evolved. We moved from the English closed list to our own localized system. By 2007, the MSA gave the English mother a Nigerian twist. We expanded the list to include port and pilotage dues. Today, our system is a hybrid, a Roman heart, an English body, and a Nigerian face. Ladies and gentlemen, so don't just see steel cargo, see a history of death spanning 2 millennia. As we move on in this lecture, we're going to dive into the introductory part of the lecture. We'll talk about the statutory dualism, where we will see why you must balance the procedural key of the AJ and the substantive anchor of the MSA. Stick around, ladies and gentlemen, and let's navigate the law. The statutory dualism. We will look at the procedural gatekeeper and the substantive heart. If you are a student of Nigerian law, you probably started with Admiralty Jurisdiction Act. That's something you must know. We will refer to the Admiralty Jurisdiction Act here in this lecture as AJ, as your procedural gatekeeper. The AJ provides the key, the action in rem. Under section 5 sub 3 of the AJ, it tells the Federal High Court, yes, you have the power to arrest the ship. It's about the how and the where. But hold on. Just because you can arrest a ship doesn't mean your claim stays alive after the ship is sold. That is where the Merchant Shipping Act 2007 MSA enters as the substantive heart. While the AJ focuses on the process of the arrest, the MSA specifically through section 66 to 71 defines the property rights. In Nigeria, you cannot practice Admiralty law with one eye closed. You must balance the procedural key of the AJ with the substantive anchor of the MSA. If you don't, you might arrest a ship only to find your claim was legally extinguished the moment the owner signed a bill of sale. Let us look at the juridical defendant. And in that, we will consider the principle in the Gongola Hope. Now, you might ask, does the Nigerian court truly accept this 19th century idea of a ship being a person? The answer is a resounding yes. Look at the landmark case of the MV Gongola Hope and SCIT Limited 2007 decision. There, the court, this is a Nigerian definitive authority on the personification theory. The Court of Appeal made it clear that in an action in rem, the ship is not just a piece of property, it is the juridical defendant, it is the rest. The court taught us that if you don't sell the ship correctly, literally pinning the reed to the mast or to a conspicuous part of the hull, you have not properly arrested the court's jurisdiction. The case of Gongola reinforces that under the AJ 2004, the ship is the instrument of mischief. When you sue the MV Gongola Hope, you And not just knocking on the owner's door, you are seizing the defendant itself. Let us look at the overriding 5 and then the hierarchy of power. Now, let us talk about the hierarchy of power. In the Federal High Court, some claims are more equal than others. If you look at section 66 and 67 of the MSA, we find what I call the overriding 5. These are not just debts, they are super claims that leapfrog every other claim, even the claim that is coming from the banks. Let us break down the leapfrog list. I am going to look at this from a humanitarian and the savior. First, the crew wages. If you look at section 66A, the law protects those who man the walls. This covers not just pay, but repatriation and social insurance. Why? Because a stranded crew is a humanitarian crisis. The ship pays the human before he pays the bank. The second one is loss of life and personal injury. Section 66B, whether on water, on land, if the ship causes the injury, the lien clings to the whole. The third one is salvage reward, section 66 sub C. This is the savior's lien. Under section 68, a later salvage claim actually outranks an earlier one. What is the jurisprudence behind it? Why? Because without the salvo, the ship would be at the bottom of the ocean and the other creditors would have nothing to fight over. So when it is time to share whatever they get from the vessel, you must first of all settle the salvo. Let us look at the sovereign and the tortfeasor. The fourth item, and this is a Nigerian twist, ports and pilotage dues, 66 of the MSA. Unlike English law, Nigerian law makes state dues an overriding lien if a vessel skips out on its dues in Onne or Warri. The NPA, the Nigerian Ports Authority, carries a master key to the ship that survives any sale. And then the fifth out of the 5 of the claims is the one that is related to tort claims, 66 sub E. This covers physical damage and crucially environmental pollution. In the era of blue economy, this is the primary tool for holding rogue ships accountable for spills in the Niger Delta. If your claim is in these overriding 5 we just listed, you possess a legal checkmate. You can wait for a bank to finance a ship for 10 years, and then in one afternoon at the Federal High Court, your claim can jump to the front of the line and take the lion's share of the money. It is the ultimate power move in maritime law. Let us look at the mutation and the shadow. Now, before we move on, we have to address the heavy lifting of the law. To truly understand the invisible burden we have talked about, you must master the distinction between a maritime lien and a statutory right in rem. Think of a maritime lien as a DNA mutation in the ship's title, as established in the 1981 case of the Bold Buckler. It attaches the very second the damage is done. It is proprietary, it is permanent, it survives a sale, it is a right in the ship. However, a statutory right in rem, like a bill for ship repairs or supply of necessaries, is just a procedural shadow. If the owner sells the ship before you file your writ in the Federal High Court, that shadow vanishes. You can't chase the new owner because that right wasn't encrusted in the hold. It was merely a right to sue the current owner using the ship as security. And here is the kicker for our international viewers. The rule from the Bankers Trust International Limited and Third Shipyards Group, popularly referred to as the Hyclone Isle 1981 decision, says it all. When multiple creditors show up at the Federal High Court in Lagos, the court doesn't care about foreign priority rules. It uses the lex fori. That's the law of the Nigerian court. This is why understanding the MSA 2007 is your only shield in the priority battle. If the Nigerian statute says that you are second in line, it doesn't matter if the law in New York says you're first. It is the law in Nigeria that will prevail. Let us now consider the indelibility mark. In land law, we have a saying, caveat emptor, meaning buyer beware. You check the registry, you see a clean title, and you are safe. But in Nigerian maritime law, under Section 71 of the MSA, the rules of the land don't apply. Think of a maritime lien as a legal virus. Once a ship hits a jetty, or fails to pay its crew, the virus attaches to the hull. Under Section 71 MSA, this lien follows the vessel notwithstanding any change of ownership or registration of flag. It doesn't matter if the new owner is a bona fide purchaser for value without notice of the impending equity, who paid the full price and has never heard of the debt. It doesn't matter if the ship is renamed, it moved from something else to another name and flies a Liberian flag now instead of a Nigerian flag. It doesn't matter. The virus stays in the steel. In the eyes of the Federal High Court, you haven't just bought a ship, you have also bought its sins. The priority paradox, the reverse time race. Now, let's talk about the priority paradox. In standard banking law, the first person to register their interest wins. But maritime law flips the script. Under Section 68 of the MSA, we have a hierarchy that keeps bankers awake at night. Number one, we talk of the overriding five. We've discussed this earlier on. Wages of crew and the master, injury, salvage, port dues, and toll. The second order priority list after the overriding five are registered mortgages. Even those registered years ago, they will come second. And then the third one in the list is statutory rights in rem, that's borders on repairs, bunkers, and supply of necessaries. But here is the twist. The last shall be the first. In maritime law, a latter salvage claim outrights an earlier one, outranks an earlier one. Why? Because the most recent salvor is the one who saved the asset for everyone else. If you didn't pull the ship off the rocks last week, the bank wouldn't have a ship to foreclose on today. In this race, the finish line moves backwards. Let us look at the 2-year clock, the statute of extinguishment. So, is there ever an end to the invisible burden? Yes. But is a tight window? Look at section 72 of the MSA. A maritime lien is extinguished after 2 years. However, there is a major catch for the buyer. That's the tolling exception. If the claimant was legally prevented from arresting the ship, for instance, if the ship stayed out of Nigerian territorial waters, the clock stops. The debt doesn't die, it just goes into hibernation. The moment that head enters in Nigerian port, the invisible burden wakes up and the Federal High Court Marshal is waiting with an arrest warrant. In Nigeria, the sea remembers what the registry forgets. Let us look at a seminar case. The escape pilotage dues. Let us apply this. A vessel owes NPA 50 million naira in pilotage dues. It's sold to a conglomerate, renamed and reflagged. The new owner's lawyers say, we have a clean title. What is the verdict? Under section 66D and section 67 of the MSA, those dues are overriding maritime lien. Under section 71, they survive the sale, the MPA wins, the ship is arrested, the debt of the head must be paid. This is the reality of the Nigerian blue economy. You don't just navigate the waves, you navigate the statutes in form of a summary. Let us look at the doctrinal trinity. If you look at the origin of maritime lien, you know that maritime liens arises automatically by the operation of law. For statutory right in rem, they arises only upon the issuance of a writ. What is the character? Maritime liens are proprietary in nature. It is a right of the ship in the ship. For statutory rights in rem, the right is procedural. It is a right against the ship. In maritime lien, it is a right in the ship. Let's talk about survivability. A maritime lien survives a bona fide sale to a third party. For a statutory right in rem, it is extinguished if the ship is sold before you file your suit. What is the authority for this summary? You look at the case of the Bold Buckley 1851, and then for statutory rights in rem, you look at section 2 and section 5 sub 3 of the AJ. By way of closing, as we wrap up this session of AruguInsights, let us synthesize the law. The invisible body is not just a poetic phrase, it is the proprietary ghost of the Bold Buckley. When you're advising a client on the ship purchase or an arrest, you must distinguish between the mutation and the shadow. A maritime lien is a mutation in the title. It attaches at the moment of impact, the moment of salvage, or the moment the seaman's wages go unpaid. It is indelible. It is what we call a privilege claim. However, the statutory right in rem for your bunkers, your repairs, or your necessaries is merely a procedural shadow. If the ship is sold before you move the court, that shadow vanishes. And finally, remember the hard lesson of the Hycleon Isle. When the ship is arrested in Nigeria, the lex fori, the law of our courts, reigns supreme. The MSA 2007 is the final arbiter of who gets paid and who goes home empty-handed. In the Nigerian blue economy, ignorance of the invisible body isn't just a mistake, it is a total loss. This concludes a deep dive into the invisible body. If you found this useful, hit the subscribe button for more insights into the Federal High Court Admiralty practice. In our next session, we'll look at ship arrest procedure from the writ of summons to the marshal's warrant. I am Arugu Speaks, your anchor, and this is Shipping Law. Thank you for your time. Appreciate it.
AruguInsights, the show that shines the light